All right, ladies. I'm pouring out some videos this morning. I've got a lot on my mind. I want to talk about how do we work. Yesterday, I was walking to work and I was like, how do I want to approach my work tonight? I had asked the boss to wait and give me only a couple nights to start off. And with Mother's Day and everything, he didn't have me on the schedule. So that's why there was a delay between my training and getting on the floor. He started me off with a couple shifts this week. And I'm like, okay, how do I want to approach work? I tend to be somebody who can be like, oh, okay, I'm feeling good. I can handle, 5 nights, and then I can get very worn out. So I've had to look at my triggers and my weak points and say, what is sustainable for me? And that's the key for me. Before when I worked, not only did I work, but I homeschooled. And not only did I homeschool, but I was investing heavily in my relationships with my kids. So I'm like, you know what? Keep it low, Melissa. Stay low to the ground. Take the work, but pace yourself. Pace yourself more so that the work you have is sustainable. Because it's easy, just like, when you don't have a lot of money, you get your income tax check and you're like, oh, wow, look, we got money to get all those needs on the list that we've been waiting for. And before you know it, your income tax money is gone. So you want to have even keel as much as you can. I mean, I know definitely there are times to side hustle. There's time to take the work when you need the work. But you're better off to keep it even keel as much as you can. And that gives you room for things that come up in life. Like when we were raising our kids, I think a lot of women can relate to this. You're a teenage girl, you're trying to find the right guy, you're dating. I mean, for me, I didn't have a lot of guidance. You're out there, you're listening to friends, you're trying to figure things out, right? And I think my dad actually was trying to tell me, make sure that you marry a man who's motivated and you have money in life. And I didn't really care about money in life. I just didn't. I was like, I'm marrying for love. So he's like, you're going to live off love? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to live off love. So I did not marry for money at all. Furthest thing from my mind. So for me, once I was married and became pregnant after wanting a child and feeling like I couldn't have one because of a forced abortion when I was a teen, I felt like God was punishing me, and I have my story about this. So when I had my kids, I was very focused on being the best mother I can be. And I think that's where our energy needs to be. I think this is where our focus needs to be, and it was my one and only focus, was being a good mother. And on top of that, my throat's a little sore today. On top of that, I was working on how to be a good wife once I became a Christian, how to be a good homemaker, how to stay on top of things. Like I did listen to, what was it, Fly Lady. I did listen to different people on how to organize stuff. And we lived in a very, very small home with 3. So we had been in a big apartment and then we downsized to a trailer. So that's when I was pregnant with my second one. We had moved to a trailer. And then we had another one. So we had 3 at this time. And we were getting ahead financially. We were doing pretty good because we had such a low housing cost. But then my husband had cancer. And I think back and I'm like, Melissa, you should have put more money away, or you should have done this. And I really think at that time in my life, we were right where we needed to be. Because I had gone to hairdressing school when the first year of marriage, and I was like, okay, I already, have a career set up. I had already worked in a salon outside of the hairdressing school in Derry, so I was all ready to, make my career, so to say, because I didn't think I could have kids. And then, lo and behold, when I'm graduating from hairdressing school, I'm pregnant. So I graduated being pregnant from hairdressing school, and I was just like, you know, should I continue in my career or should I be home? And I was looking at the expenses of a hospital bill. And this is the first time, like, this is when I started going minimalist. I was like, wait a minute, it makes more sense for me to get the Medicaid. So I actually stayed home while I was pregnant, waiting for my firstborn son to be born, and took the Medicaid because that made so much more sense, especially as a pregnant woman where you need extra care. You don't want to overwork. You don't want to, you want to take extra care of yourself when you're pregnant. So that was the first thing I did, and I took that resource, which was a little hard for me because I was raised to, work for what you have, don't take handouts, and that was kind of hard for me. But then I was, I had other people saying, Melissa, doesn't he work hard? Don't you pay taxes? Yeah. Well, then that's your money that you paid into the system. Don't feel bad about that. So then I took WIC, and that helped. And then the time my husband had cancer, after our third son, before and after our third son in 96, that bill was probably over 100,000 easy. So any savings we would have had at that point would have just gone. And that's kind of how I look at it. So I did listen to somebody not too long ago who was talking about, and this is a hard pill to swallow. You are exactly where you want to be. You're exactly where you want to be financially. And that is a hard pill to swallow because you're like, wait a minute, I've had this happen, or I've had that happen, or like in my family, I grew up with, like, my mom, she didn't even have like a toothbrush growing up. So when she would confront my grandmother, she'd be like, oh, well, we didn't have much money. Although my grandfather worked 3 jobs and she spent money on alcohol. And looking back, I can see the excuses. So there are excuses for not taking care of money. But again, on my side, I was busy taking care of my family. And then I was doing side jobs when I could. And then I was, homeschooling. So then later on, we had 2 more. And I was busy investing in myself by then, taking care of some stuff, some trauma from the past. And just investing in myself even more, and homeschooling teens. That took all of my time. I mean, that was a huge amount of time. And I really couldn't do a lot outside of that at that time. So I think we were where we belonged. I couldn't really work much because of that. And then once my kids got a little older, I could work. So I did work. And my point is, even when you're working as a homeschool mom and you have 5 kids now, it can still be hard to sustain that. So you want to be able to have a plan. And ours was, my husband mostly worked so that we could have room and have a cushion for when things came up, we could take care of it. So now that my youngest is almost an adult, I have more time now to work without distraction. So as I was walking yesterday, wrapping back around to what I was saying, think about how to be sustainable in your job, how to make sure that you have enough energy and enough focus to make sure that you can sustain your job. It's easy when you don't have a lot of money to be like, oh, I'll pick up more hours and wear yourself out. But you don't want to do that. You're better off, and I'll say this because as a mom, you're better off to save money when you are starting off with a family. Just save as much as you can. We had a very, very cheap home to live in. We had tons of resources to help us. If I didn't have Medicaid with all my sons, besides the last one, we had paid out of pocket for a home birth. If I didn't have all that, we wouldn't have gotten ahead. Even I think we made more money with all the help than working like 2 or 3 jobs. My husband doing 2 or 3 jobs. So he had time to be with his sons. I had a girl yesterday at work say, "You have 5 sons? Who doesn't want boys? Boys are amazing." So many people want sons. So many people are so grateful to have sons. And she's like, "You never had a girl?" And I'm like, "No, I wanted more, but my husband didn't." And I said, "But I've got 2 neighborhood girls, to me are like my daughters. They're so sweet. I mean, like I'm a grandmother to them, right?" But she's like, you got your sons though." And I'm like, "Yeah, my sons help take care of me." And she's like, "Yeah, they should." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I have to kick them every now and then to, open the door for me or carry things. But yeah, you've got your sons. And that is a huge investment too in your family. When you are older, you should have your family to help take care of you. And that's not a waste to try to be the best mother, the best wife, and the best family. You don't want to focus too much on money when you have a big family to take care of, because money is not the answer. But as you get older, as I am, it is now good to have money. As you get older, you want security, you want money, you want to have things. You've worked hard all your life, and you want to have things. So think about your job differently from maybe when you were younger and you had a lot to deal with, and maybe a job didn't really matter to you. I mean, it didn't, a job's a job. It wasn't my main thing I was doing. And then as you get older, you're like, yeah, I'm going to be investing in myself more. I mean, I know for me, I've got classes I want to take, and I'm setting myself up for a future of having a lot of money. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know in my grandmother's time, women did not have that option as much to work and have money and have credit and all that. But we're living in a different age now. And you definitely, I mean, there's some things that never change. Like, I do believe still in big families. I believe it's the best thing you can do for society is to raise your kids up and have big families. I'm very much into having big families. It's not the kids that cost you. You can be very frugal. The biggest expense I think would be food with your kids, really. I mean, you can take Medicaid, you can take a lot of things to help you, but your biggest expense may be food. And even then, if you're cooking from home, you're saving yourself a lot of money. Invest in that. That is the most important thing I think you can invest in besides yourself, is other people. So invest in that, and then don't worry so much about the money. I mean, the way it's supposed to be, I think, is your husband is supposed to, by a certain amount of time, have a better paying job, and then there should be money in the bank and, real estate or whatever you have to sell. And then you should be all set for life. But some of us, we've had kids longer. Like I said, I still have a minor. It takes a little longer to get there, but you should still be shooting for that goal, and you should be figuring out how to be making more money as you are thinking of retiring. So that's what I got for you today. And I know there's a lot of excuses out there, but you are, like this person said, exactly where you want to be. So I made a good chunk of money last night at work. If I want more money, it's there. It's there. I can pick up shifts. I can make more. So it's all in what you want. So that's what I got for you now, ladies.